everyone. This is DJ Honeyflow for the Honeyflow Talk Show. Welcome, Facebook and YouTube as well, and Twitch. I'm excited to bring on my next guest. Very interested in hearing pieces of her story and how she ended up on Twitch. She does a show called Engagement Matters, and her shows are always thought provoking. She always brings different, unique topics I haven't seen anywhere on Twitch, and just definitely engages the conversation to make you really think about different topics, different life events, different things that are happening in the world, which I always appreciate from her. She's all the way from Alabama, does an awesome show too. It's Dr. Datie Priest. And I just want to welcome, of course, everyone coming through. We got Jangus, Soul Star, Janetis, and everyone else that's coming through the building. Want to wish you guys a happy International Women's Day today as well. So let's bring on, Dr. Datie Priest, and we'll definitely engage in the conversation today.
Hey,
Hello.
hello. Hello, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I've wanted you on actually for a while, so I'm glad that you said yes, and it's going to be a really interesting conversation today for sure. I'm just wondering too, are you originally from Alabama
I
too?
am born and raised.
Okay.
I just made a choice to stay here.
Okay. What could you tell people like about Alabama that aren't really too familiar with it that you guys have to offer there, like in your city and town or place?
Well, I live in Huntsville, Alabama. It is actually the economic seat of Alabama. I specifically live in Decatur. So we are, when you hear talks about like Space Force, NASA, those type things that goes on here.
Oh,
And
okay.
so actually, I have not looked at the stats lately, but I know maybe like 6 to 8 months ago, we were the hottest real estate market in the country.
Oh,
Everyone's moving here because we have a lot to offer in terms of we have a big government base and engineering.
oh, wow.
So
Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, because I'm sure the housing is a lot lower compared to like
yes,
New
and
York,
people move here for the housing prices. Yeah,
for
I mean,
sure.
it's Huntsville is actually more expensive than Decatur. However, the whole area is just the Huntsville metro area. So,
Oh, nice. You could
and
probably,
yeah, go ahead.
oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, you
Oh,
could.
I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, yeah, you could probably get a gorgeous home out there. Yeah, Janetta says she didn't notice that. She didn't realize that. That's an interesting fact too about Alabama. Jangus says it's the best food in North America, which is interesting
Oh,
too. So I'll definitely have to visit. My mod's from Alabama, Junior. So hopefully
he
you
lives
guys.
in Huntsville.
Oh, so
I've
like
never met him, but we live within maybe 30, 40 minutes of each other.
wow, you guys need to meet. You guys got to meet someday. He's a great guy too, for sure. Janetta says she'd love to visit as well. So interesting. So I know, you do a show called Engagement Matters, and I was just curious how you pretty much started on Twitch, and how you found this platform as well.
Well, like most people during the pandemic, I was in the midst of D Nice. And the one Sunday he said to DJ MOS, "Hey, bro, you ready to go?" And we went to DJ MOS and kissed the DJ's room and never left, literally. And so we just formed a bond. There are quite a few people on Twitch, and we all traveled to Twitch together from IG. So DJ MOS is the one who introduced me to Twitch. I'm also mod for him whenever he's busy now, back doing real life stuff, but I also mod for him. So that is how I got to Twitch, and just from there met other people and began to engage because engagement matters, right?
Yeah, for sure. So what made you come up with like your show and deciding, hey, I'm going to just do a show that's different because your show is very unique. And I think it's definitely special. Some of the content that you talk about, what made you decide, okay, I'm going to call it Engagement Matters and I'm going to just jump in and do a show?
Mhm. So engagement matters has been my tagline for years. That's nothing I just came up with. Engagement is my professional niche. I worked 22 years in public education. And so engagement matters. And that covers a wide array of things. So when you talk about different situations happening, it really all goes back to engagement. And so, in terms of me wanting to do the show, I was always going to do a podcast. And when I got ready, I was modding for DJQ, the mixologist at the time, and he said, "Hey, you know people on Twitch. You already have a built-in platform, so just do it here. You don't have to go search for the people." So didn't have to search for anyone, and that's it.
And how long has it been? Has it been like a couple years for you?
Yes, this
Mm.
month makes 2 years. We will celebrate at the end of this month.
Congratulations. It goes fast too, right? 2
It
years?
does. It's been like I've been on Twitch 3 years, but
Wow.
2 years as a podcaster.
Yeah. Have you tried other platforms like, say, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, or just like other
I
podcast
have not
platforms?
yet. I have not
Mhm.
yet. That is in the plan. And I have most recently the new platform that's been introduced, Kick. So I've got a Kick account, and we'll start exploring that as well.
Yeah, actually, another DJ just mentioned Kick to me as well just the other day,
Mhm.
and just said even in terms of monetization or different, it's different than Twitch. So he was telling me it almost looks like Twitch as well. I don't know. I haven't really explored it yet, but that might be a possibility, right? You never know. You got to try different things, right?
Right.
So, oh, Father Damien, how you doing? He's just come through the building. He says hello to you as well. Thanks for coming through,
Hello,
Father.
hello.
Appreciate you. Have you had a chance to check out his show? He does a great show too, Father Damien.
I have not.
Okay, he's actually a priest in real life too, so
Okay.
it's kind of a unique show that he does. Um, well, that's good. So, do you have like, I guess, any plans for like for your show on Twitch as well, in terms of what you kind of want to do in the future or anything like that?
I have a few plans, keeping them kind of close right now. However, just doing more of the same and making sure that there is quality engagement. There's nothing I necessarily seek to do in terms of trying to be different. I just try and provide um, engaging.
Oh, I think we missed the last part. I don't know if you could repeat it. It was freezing.
Okay, so let me make sure my Ethernet is hooked up.
Yeah,
Um,
same with me. I think with my Wi-Fi, I don't know.
yeah, everything's connected on my
Can you
end.
guys could you guys hear? Yeah, could you guys hear? If everything's all good in the
I'll
chat room,
definitely repeat it.
just leave a message if you could hear.
Sure. Hey, DJ Chris Camouflage, how are you? I was simply saying that with regard to engagement matters, I don't necessarily seek to do anything that's different. I just try and present a platform that's quality and substantive and share content that invites people to engage and feel safe doing so between the lines.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, DJ Chris Camouflage, good to see you as well. Yeah, Genetis, I think, said it was breaking up a little, but that's okay. We'll keep it going. So that's fine. Yeah, and if you guys have any questions for Dr. Datie Priest, it's a good time to, you could always throw them in the chat room as well throughout the show, and I'll be sure to catch them. So if you have any questions, definitely drop them in the chat for her. So I know you talk about like different issues, which is what I really appreciate, like especially about mental health. You've talked about, like a variety of different things from the pandemic to mental health. And, I saw a show that said mental health, especially amongst Black men, and I thought that was an interesting show and always bringing on men too, like on your channel to promote or talk about these various topics that a lot of maybe shows aren't really talking about. How is that important to you as well? Like, what does that mean to you bringing these different topics on your show?
Well, so, clearly I'm a Black woman, so issues that Black people grapple with is important to me. And so using my platform and my agency to bring light to these issues is important. It's not enough to say, we're all in this together. Yes, we are. However, there are groups among us who are disenfranchised. So highlighting the issues and bringing them to light, making sure that people are aware. And not only are they aware, but they have an opportunity to connect with resources that may assist them is very important. So why not use my agency and my voice?
Yeah, for sure. Have you thought about, like, I think I saw your website too, just kind of launching or starting a coaching program, like for people out there online that
Mhm.
can, be more like resourceful for people out there?
Right. So yes, engagement matters. That's a website that is really more for not necessarily to teach people how to get into podcasting. It's more leadership coaching based and school leadership coaching based and it's self-care also. So it's more coaching oriented in that regard.
Yeah. Have you thought about doing like maybe coaching one-on-one to individuals? Or I see you great at that
Absolutely. Yes,
for groups of
sure.
people. Yeah.
Yes, yes. It is
Okay.
definitely geared, one-on-one, small group, whole group, whatever the situation is. And, I have some other things in the works in terms of what that's going to look like in the next few months. So just, stay tuned.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so make sure everyone, of course, in the room adds Dr. Datie Priest on Twitch, also on Instagram, and her other platforms that she has too. Make sure you go to definitely her Instagram and Twitch. For the one person that doesn't know Dr. Datie Priest on Twitch, I was curious too how you got your name, like Dr. Datie Priest as well, or where that if it has significance or where that comes from.
Well, Datie Priest is my name. So I've never been one of these, the people who creates different monikers or never really had a nickname. In terms of Datie, I was named after my grandmother, so I am a namesake. And you know, it's Datie's my name. Doctor, I am. I have a doctorate in education from the University of Alabama. So I use that, of course, in certain professional circles. Otherwise, it's just Datie.
Oh, okay. All right. Oh, I didn't even realize that was your real name. I thought I was like, I wonder if yeah. So that's awesome. That is because I know different people say priest or different thing in their username online. So that's why I was
Mhm.
kind of wondering. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Okay. That's cool. So then also on Amani Experiences show, you were voted, uh, the best mental health stream of the year, which is pretty amazing for the Twitch Awards. I'm not sure if you knew this. I did hear that over 30,000 people voted for those nominations, which is huge.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So to even
I was
get
just glad to
nominated.
be included in the number.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Exactly. So I was gonna ask you how you felt about that. And congratulations to you. That's huge. And whether you get an award or not, or whether you're nominated or not, like you really truly do a great show for people.
thank you.
And I
Thank
think
you.
mental health is like so critical in these times and so important. So I'm glad that you and others are doing something in your unique way to kind of reach and touch people.
Yeah, well, thank you. Even having an opportunity to come collaborate, sit with you, and talk about these things matters. How we choose to use our platforms for good is really what makes a difference with other people. And I have to tell everyone, I am not a mental health professional. I am a mental wellness advocate. I'm an educator. I'm a coach, coaching strategist. It's just that, mental wellness is very important. I think the research says that over 60 over 60% of us, 6 out of 10 people, will have some sort of a mental health episode at some point in their lives. That's a great number. I dare say it's more than that. I really would venture to say 9 out of 10 people will have some sort of a mental health episode. That's not necessarily indicating that you need to be hospitalized. That just means that something happened that just jarred you, that you need to just stop and recalibrate and recenter. And just sometimes people can employ coping mechanisms and techniques and strategies that work, and other times they may actually need a counselor or a coach or someone like that in their lives, which would speak to the self-care side of engagement matters.
Yeah, so
Double
true.
spirit.
What do you think? How you doing, Double Spirit, DJ Camouflage? I just saw your message. Is it so small? I think you're the first person to mention that actually. If you guys could see the scrolling line down below, let me know. I don't know if you're looking at it on a smaller phone. We
I
got,
actually like it there.
sorry?
I said I actually like it there.
Yeah? Okay. And then also, if you missed it, DJ Chris Camouflage, you could always catch it here in Stream Elements. So I just posted Dr. Datie Priest's link here on Twitch so everyone could also add her too. Um, Metro Mix, how you doing, Metro Mix? Great to see you.
Metro Mix. I love some Metro Mix. Oh my
Oh, that's
goodness.
very sweet. He
He
said,
is such a genuine person.
yeah, that's awesome. He said that you're his favorite Twitch personality on stream. So that's very
Oh, thank
sweet.
you.
Yeah, if you
Thank
guys
you.
got anything, anything that Dr. Datie Priest has kind of said to you and in her shows, definitely throw up a nice compliment as well for her. If there's anything that kind of stuck out to you when she's done her shows too, or what mattered to you, because she really does have great content. And we're going to get into definitely a lot of it. I'm just,
Okay, thank you.
trying to go a little bit later here, trying to go a bit later.
Okay, I
But I
gotcha.
know, I know you're one that I could definitely have like a conversation with. So yeah, so I'm just, going back to that word that you said, how do you feel about like when people say mental health? Like, do you actually like that word, or like are you fine with that those words, mental health, or what's your take or feeling on that? When people say mental health, it sounds very taboo to others. Um,
I think we are living in a time when we can't afford not to talk about what it is. Um, yes, there are. It is a taboo subject, in many cultures. And so, particularly, I know growing up in the Black culture, that was something that wasn't talked about. Or it might have been, let's just pray for them or let's do this. There's absolutely nothing wrong with seeking help. Um, and that, so I'm not scared to talk about it. I don't, I guess from my perspective, I'm wondering what the issue is. And I think that in and of itself is an issue, in that we spend so much time trying to soften things for people instead of calling it what it is and giving people the necessary tools to be able to engage with whatever's on the table. That we forget, we can't see the forest for the trees. We're too busy making up all these extra soft terms. Well, it is a mental health episode, if that's what it is.
mhm. And would you say, like you mentioned earlier, I think everyone has gone through something. Everyone has a
Yeah.
story, right?
Mhm.
And when you think about it, everyone's broken. That's what I'm beginning to realize. Like all of us have broken elements, that we might have gone through, right? Whether it's trauma or loss or different things. Um, So I don't know. I'm not sure if I like the word mental health as much, but that's just coming from me because it feels
Mhm.
like it's very
So what would
taboo.
you call it?
Um, I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if I have the right word to really call it, but mental health to me sounds like some foreign mental illness, like you need to be
Mhm.
hospitalized or it's
You know,
very
mental
taboo.
wellness, balance, life, self-care. When you start talking about one of the things that one of my guests, and she's my friend in real life, Dr. Tanya Davis, she's a practicing psychologist and a college professor, and she's trained like big people, like she's trained FBI, those type people. And
Wow.
so one of the things that she says is that when it comes to mental health and mental wellness, that part of engaging in self-care is that you go seek help on the front end when there's nothing wrong, so that when the episodes do happen, you have something in your arsenal from which you can pull.
Mhm. Yeah, that definitely makes sense for sure. That's good. Are you ever surprised, like when you look on TV, like, and you see different people like DJ Twitch hit me pretty hard and, a few others that you see online, Kate Spade or Robin Williams or just all these people that seem so happy, like they
Mhm.
literally just did like a dancing video or something. What could you speak about that, or how did you feel when you saw like it just seems like it's becoming more common, especially in entertainment. It can be a tough industry. So, say when that happened to DJ Twitch, like what was your feelings kind of on that?
Well, again, I'm not a mental health professional, and so I just noticing the uptick in um, highlighting what happened with regard to him taking his own life. I had a nephew who took his own life some years ago. Absolutely, Metro Mix. We had our
Yeah.
pain behind our smiles, and people tend to go along to get along. And it was even thinking about Robin Williams, um, how he created happy spaces for other people, yet inside was turmoil for him. And so you just have to think about whatever strategies people get when they go seek help, that they definitely have to be employed. And we look at those who are in entertainment. However, we can and should be looking at those who are walking among us. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, so sorry to hear that with your family too, and that
Hey, P-Mac.
yeah, that definitely is deep. Like we should be looking at people that are kind of more among us, that's so
Yeah.
true. Hey, P Mac, good to see you. Thanks for coming through as well. Metro Mix again put up a good comment here, saying we hide our pain behind our smiles. It's so true, especially as
Right,
performers, even more so, right? Being on stages, being even
right.
DJs, streamers, um, in front of the camera, right? Like, definitely. Um, Let's see, Metro Mix says here, it's sometimes easier to tell everyone I'm doing good and have them not dig further. Do you think also people just don't want to hear the truth? Like, say, if people are like, hey, how are you? And then you go into saying, I'm having a horrible day and I literally feel like I'm going to jump off a building. Like, people don't really want to hear that when you go to work or, you go
Mhm.
to a church or you go. So it's just much easier saying, hey, I'm doing good, you know?
That
Would
could go both ways. I think that there are some people who may not wanna hear it, and that may be because we have been conditioned to say, "Hey, I'm doing well, I'm doing great." Well, personally speaking, I remember last year, there was a period when I really wasn't doing well.
Mhm.
And the energy that, the positive energy you get from other people in terms of streaming, like, no one knew until I told them. And so in terms of, what people want to hear. I think we have to think about it in terms of what they are capable of processing. Everyone is not equipped to deal with your issues. Having said that, I don't necessarily know that it's prudent for people to constantly go around and say, I'm doing horribly, even in that moment or that feeling or that space. We need to take people serious, depending on that situation.
Yeah, and what are some solutions? What do you think we can do to help? Like, say if someone's gone through a loss, that's the normal thing to say, "Oh, hey, I'll pray for you," or "Hey, I'm here if you need anything." But usually, realistically at funerals, people just kind of disappear and move
I
on
do.
with their life very instantly. So
Mhm.
I was even thinking about some ideas like what can you do to actually really show that like you do care about people or you are thinking about them? Like, I don't know, do you have any other ideas that we could maybe do?
I think, well, let me tell you again, I am not a mental health professional. PMAC is. He is a real-time mental health professional.
Oh,
And
wow.
so one of the things is he's my cousin. And so
Awesome.
one of the when you say to people, I'm praying for you, that's all well and good, but people don't want to hear that. What people want to know or what they need is connection. So Mother Teresa said the need for human touch and connection is greater than the need for bread. People need something to make it from one moment to the next. Because you could see someone with a smile, yet they're just torn up inside. And so people hope. How can they make it? What is that looking like? And give them a safe space to just be. That's part of the problem. People don't know that it's safe to say, I'm not doing well, or time. Like, what did I tell you earlier? Time is not my friend today.
Mhm.
And so it was, you just be honest about stuff.
Yeah, that's true actually. That definitely goes a long way. Another thing I kind of thought of is like maybe providing a meal, like those small things. Maybe it's not even just saying, "Hey, I'll do this," or if you need anything, but it's the action. Like maybe even like
Absolutely.
providing dinner or like even making cookies for someone, like something that's small or just showing that you're thinking about them in the day, giving
I can
something inspiring.
remember one of my friends, it's been a few years ago, and I was on my way to work, and it was like really early, when she called, because we would talk early, like before 6. And she told me that she had literally just lost her dad.
Wow.
I knew that I had to keep going to work. Um, and this was like during COVID, when we were still not necessarily fully back out there. I knew that I couldn't stop what I was doing in terms of work. So in that moment, I just stopped and sent her, a cash app and was like, hey, at some point today, just order lunch for you and your sisters. And so somebody else did the same thing. They went, and so you're absolutely right in terms of gestures. And part of that is also knowing, if you know the individual, understanding, what their love language is and what would mean a lot to them. But even if you don't know that, I think just being genuine and authentic in the process is what's going to make the difference.
So true. And even it could be as small as like cuz I come from a big city, so just like making eye contact with people or maybe even giving like a compliment, like you I was just talking about with friends about this, we don't understand sometimes people could be angry, like you could have road rage or they may cut you off or do this
Mhm.
to you, but why is that action happening? Like they could have just lost someone that day, they could have been rushing to the hospital, you know what I mean? Like there's so many variables, but I think sometimes we're so quick at maybe and I'm guilty of this. I'm not saying I'll say me. Sometimes, you could be guilty of assuming things, but we don't really know what people are going through, right? So
Right, that's right. That's a good point.
yeah, so friends gave me a different perspective, like if someone's road raging or whatever they're doing, or maybe they're driving super slow in traffic and you're frustrated and you're like, "Come on, like move." But then you don't
Right.
know
Now
if
that would be me. Move.
oh, Yeah, exactly. So I don't know, it just gives you a different perspective to kind of think about things and life and people, right? But compliments, I think, would be kind of like to be aware and to do that to people that you meet that come across your path. It just puts a smile on their faces, right? And they're surprised. I like what you said, how you said community, like people you want that factor first, right? That connection. So
Yeah,
that's definitely a strong
because
point.
people want to feel seen and valued and
Mhm.
know that they belong or like, and we say this a lot when people come into streams, like when we came into, I was in somebody's room and they rated into you the other night and you were just like, hey, I see you all. Like you couldn't stop what you were doing in that moment, but it was like, I see you.
Mhm. Yeah, I couldn't talk. I
Right.
couldn't be on the mic, which some people would love that about me. But I think you do a very good job of that, like, on your show too, that you're not like, "Okay, it has to be done this way." That's one thing that I do really appreciate about you, that, like, if the chat goes in a different direction, you're constantly connecting with the chat, and you're acknowledging people's comments, you know? I don't
Mhm.
know how you keep up with that because your chat's pretty busy. So how do you keep up with that?
I don't, I was an elementary school principal, so I worked in public education for 22 years. So I guess keeping up with people is just kind of the thing. Now, I will say that that does bother some people because they're like,
Oh, yeah.
just
Mm.
get to, because I like to acknowledge people and, when people come in, and that can detract from the flow of what's going on. However, when people come in, it's just like someone coming to my home. Um,
Mhm.
you know, like right now I'm in your home and I want you to know that I appreciate it. And so if someone comes into my home, I try and make the virtual space have the same feel as it would if someone were in my physical home. And I want people to leave feeling like they were very welcomed here.
Yeah,
And so if
that's
you
how I
come in
feel.
my presence, I want you to leave feeling better than when you first encountered me.
Yeah, I feel like your show is like that. Like, I feel like you okay, it's gonna sound cheesy, but I feel like you literally made us like a baked apple pie when I come into your chat, you know? And I feel like your laughter is infectious. Like, that's one thing. Like, you have the best laugh, you
Oh, thank
know, that I've seen on Twitch. Like, I love it, you know? And that's why I always try cracking jokes and maybe I deter a little bit, you know, but I love like your laughter and it feels warm when people walk in, they feel accepted, you know? So,
Well, thank
that's
you
one
for
thing.
that, and I want people to feel accepted. I want them to feel very welcome. It just, engagement should matter. It's not a one-dimensional type thing, and, for me, I have always 100%, of the time worked in high poverty settings that, you talked about not necessarily knowing what people were going through. Well, that in and of itself is stressful. And when you encounter people, and especially from the school perspective, nobody wants to hear from the principal. You know,
Mhm.
nobody wants the teacher to call. It's bad enough if the teacher calls, but when I call, it's like, oh gosh, here she. And so that's one thing. But if where engagement matters really started to make sense to me, um, was when I made the connection between what happened when I was growing up and what I was doing uh, when I became an instructional leader. So I saw my mom engage. I saw her even, when she got off work, whatever the situation was, go to the school plays, show up and see what happened. Hey, DJK Immaculate. And so when you think about engagement with other people, you have to make people feel welcome. That's just me. And other people may have different opinions about it. But like I said, I was the principal of a school that was 100% poverty. So if you're asking people to come back to a school play or an event at the school and they have gotten off, they either have just gotten off work or they have taken off work. You don't have to, they don't have time to come in and spend an hour or two with you and then go home and have to worry about what they're going to eat. That type of stuff never made sense to me. So I'm saying that to say we would always make sure if somebody took the time to come to the school, they didn't have to worry about cooking that night. Just And also, thank you so much for coming. Hey, I see you have another baby on the way, whatever. I saw a lady a couple of weeks ago. I went to my sorority's regional conference, and it was so precious. And they were some of my former parents who worked at the convention center. And I heard one of the ladies say, she had Diana, she had Christian, she had Sebastian, she had all of them. So,
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I was gonna say hello to a few people too that walked in. Hey, Kitty Bradshaw. I actually just listened to your interview you did with Dr. Datie Priest. It was pretty awesome. I learned a few things definitely that you said in that conversation. So I just wanted to say I appreciated the conversation you guys did together.
thank you.
I was catching some of the shows before this show just to listen
Okay.
in on what you guys were talking about. So I actually really appreciated that and just being honest like about different things and that's not always easy to do, so I appreciated that
Right.
conversation. We got, let's see, Father Damien in the building again, double spirit. I
Thank you,
just
Summers.
saw DJ Immaculate that came in the building. He's like, hey, somebody's interviewing Dr. Auntie up in here.
Yeah, he
um,
called me Dr. Auntie.
Yeah, auntie. We got let's see, BK DJ CeeLo, great show the other day as well. So yeah, thanks for coming through, you guys. We got T Summers in the building. Good to see you. Where are you from, actually, T Summers? I don't think I recognize that ID. Definitely drop in the chat. Let's
Summers
see.
is our Twitch travel
That's funny.
expert. So
Oh, okay,
yeah,
nice. That's hilarious. We are Laverne and Shirley. Yeah, it was good. I liked the conversation. Like I was like, just listening to you guys. I was cooking some lunch. I was listening to both of you guys. So if you
oh,
guys
thank
got any questions for Dr. Datie Priest, make sure you guys drop them, in the chat. And, of course, she's also an educational consultant. She's a leadership coach,
you.
and she's a principal. So I was just
Well,
curious.
I'm not a principal
Oh,
anymore.
okay, not a principal anymore, but you
Yeah,
did
I'm
it
not in
for.
public education anymore. I work for myself now.
Yes, and that's a huge leap. That takes so much courage. Like, what made
Yes.
you decide, okay, I'm just going to take that leap and now's the right time? Was it kind of the pandemic or other things?
It was a combination of things. So my contract ended basically. That's the long and short of it last year. At As we were in the pandemic, and I had been with the previous school district, the job I was doing, and so their school district. And this past year, my contract ended last summer, and so I was already going to go into this arena. It just, the way things unfolded, it just kind of jolted me there. So different, but I enjoy it. It's one
Yeah.
of those situations when you venture into entrepreneurship, you have to walk boldly, right? And boldly, however, scared sometimes. Some mornings or some days, even before, at some point earlier today, I was just like, okay, God, I know you got this. It's gonna be okay. So
Wow, he does have it, and you know what? There's a lot more people that can relate to that than you think. And it
yeah.
does take courage to start a business and to do this again, like, especially if we're comfortable where we're at, and sometimes we're forced
Mhm.
from bad situations, even bad situations, right? With employment or different things, sometimes
Well,
you're
and
pushed.
that was me. Mine, I'm just not going all into it. It was a bad
Yeah.
situation. An
Yeah, no, I
oppressive,
hear you.
racist horror. I am in Alabama, honey. And
Yeah.
so, just it's this is what I have learned over the past 22 years, or just my life in general. And this is what I would always share with people: be comfortable being who you are. And because there are always going to be, there will be people who appreciate what you bring to the table. And then if you have the misfortune of being around people who don't know how to appreciate you, you just still walk your path. Don't, do not, do not get off. Just keep walking. That's the best description I can give of that. Because having this is what I know to be true. When you work around people and they resort to oppressive type behaviors or stuff that goes against the grain of what we know to be true, that's really a reflection of what they don't bring to the table more than it is what's going on with you.
So true. Wow. Do you ever wonder like why certain people succeed? Like it could be in a corporate career or school, and you're just like, some of these people are horrible people, if you're
Absolutely.
dealing with like say racism, or you're dealing with,
Yeah.
even being a woman in the industry, or
Mhm. And I've
I'm sure
dealt
you
with it all.
yeah, I could see that, especially being a principal too, right? There could also
And
be
it's not so
jealousy.
much that I'm a principal. Think about it. I'm, never mind the fact that I'm a Black woman, I'm a boss chick, right?
Mhm.
I own that about myself. And there was a time when I didn't own that because I felt very uncomfortable. And I'm thinking, we teach little girls to be okay with who they are. Then when they become that, we want to tell them to be quiet. Why? Just
Yeah,
so they
that's
can
true.
make it. And I'm not ever the person who's going to knock anyone. However, I'm very much aware of what I bring to the table. And I have always worked in situations where I might not have been the sharpest tool in the shed, but I can tell you the point of what I brought to the table. That light certainly shined for other people to use.
Mhm.
And people don't necessarily, it's not that they don't like that. People begin to get envious. And you spoke of how did some people get into positions. It might have been nepotism, might just be the way it's supposed to be. And one of the things that you have to learn in leadership is that leaders are not always the sharpest tools in the shed, right? Do
Mm.
you remember that commercial when E.F. Hutton talks, people listen? There's always an E.F. Hutton on your team.
Mm.
There's always somebody around you who knows more than you. I am the person who acknowledges that. So, um, you know, I I like to see people win. And um, just the other day, a couple of days ago, I was going to see my mom, and I passed by one of my former teachers. She had the absolute best math scores in the whole school district at that time when we worked together years ago. And, people, it was like, how did they get that? Well, yeah, that's right. That's right. And there is a difference, T. Managers are managers, supervisors supervise, leaders facilitate growth. And that, you really do have to understand what that entails. That's absolutely right. That is
Mhm.
absolutely right. So, you know, I think say growing up in Alabama, you learn a lot about people. Um, because this is where it goes down. And
Yeah.
anything
Wow.
negative that happens in the country, it likely happened very stupidly here first. so
Mhm.
it's it's one of those things where you're like, okay, but that doesn't define you. However, continue to be yourself. Continue to walk in who you know your purpose to be. And somebody else doesn't like that, then they just don't like it. That's my thought at this point in life.
Mhm. I
Um,
really feel like, just as you're talking, I don't know, I literally feel this, and I have actually felt this like for you for a minute. Like I literally feel like you're being pushed into your purpose, you know? And it probably doesn't feel fun because you're like, "Man, I got to go through this trial, or this happened, or this person did this
yeah,
to me." I get it, but I feel like you have such a large gift to offer the world, and And I
Thank
can't wait. I don't know if you're whatever you're working on, and especially the coaching thing, like I've seen people blow up putting together some type of coaching package that people could buy online. And
mhm.
I can see that going super, super far and beyond Twitch, you know?
Thank you.
Like you really do have that. And I'm like, and I'm not just saying that, like I'm rooting for you. Like I
And
really
I'm
want
receiving
to do
that.
that.
I'm
Yeah.
receiving what I'm receiving that. Thank you.
Yeah, so I hope, and I'm excited to whatever it is that you're working on. Like just I just encourage you to keep going. It's not easy being an entrepreneur and it's not easy explaining to people what you're doing because most people don't get it. And leaders do
Right.
walk alone, like they have to walk alone in order to see the vision or whatever's placed in your heart, right? And maybe you could help a lot of
Yes.
people with whatever you've gone through being a principal. And that was a
Mhm.
question I had, like how was it just, you know, um, like climbing up because that's a large climb to become a principal and do all those things. Being a woman in itself too, and managing maybe men that are under you, like, and being African American, like, how did you find just like getting to that level? Because that's a pretty high level in education, right?
Right. Um, so my path was a little bit different. I taught kindergarten 3 years, and I taught second grade 2 years, and I went straight from the second grade classroom to the principal's desk.
Wow,
Now,
crazy.
I would not recommend that for anybody else now. That's just, that's just
Wow.
the way it worked out. And I remember being asked, like, how do you know so much? I'm like, I watch. I watch and I learn what to do as much as I learned what not to do. And one of the things that I didn't necessarily have to be taught was the art of engagement. That's something I grew up doing in my family. And so when you think about leadership and facilitating growth and development, you really are just facilitating people and getting them to understand that there is a reserve within, right? They just have to know what that looks like when they put it out there. So now there were plenty of times my friend, she worked for me at the time and then she became a math coach and we laugh about it to this day. I saw her like last month and she's a gifted, she does, she's a gifted person at the district level in another area. And so she was a third grade teacher at the time and I was a second grade teacher. And she was like, you've got to get this part. You've got to learn to read the data, priest. And
Mhm.
so she really took the time to teach me how to read assessments because that's something I didn't really, I knew about early learning, but I didn't know about the upper learning and what that meant and what, how to read the blueprints and how to the forecasting, those type things. You just have to be comfortable and acknowledge that you don't know certain things. That's another piece. People always act like they know stuff and they don't. And so we were comfortable with each other. And so, she would say, okay, well, this is where I need help. And I'm like, well, you know where I need some help. And we constantly talked about that. Now, I would not recommend that for anybody right now, because I also became principal in the same school that I taught.
Ooh, ooh, yeah, that would be challenging because now you're friends
Oh,
with your
yeah.
colleagues, but now you're kind of managing your colleagues, and a lot of colleagues wouldn't like that if they're like you guys are both here and now you're up here,
Mhm.
right? Yeah, for sure. I could see that. Do you prefer kind of being at a principal level or more just teaching the kids?
Um, I like the leadership portion of it. I knew that I was going to. It was always my goal to be in leadership. Um, so, as a matter of fact, the summer that I became a principal, I distinctly remember that a lady who was a custodian. she told me maybe the summer before we had gotten something, and she told me, she said, like, "I knew you were gonna," she said, "You were getting ready to leave, weren't you?" I was like, "Yes, ma'am." "How did you know?" And she said, "You never unpacked a lot of this stuff when we came back for school." So it was always my plan to become an instructional leader. I just never knew when it was going to happen.
Or another idea, I don't know, I have a lot of ideas that come to me when I listen to people, like, for them, but I don't know if you thought of, like, for example, when I used to work in the corporate world, they would have facilitators that came in and taught, the employees on different things. It could just be on
Yes,
motivation or
yes,
inspiration, or, like, you have a funny guest speaker coming in, or they'll design some coaching package together to help,
mhm,
even how to, like, what you're doing right now, engagement matters. You know how many teams of people need that in the corporate world? They're not even connecting with managers or staff, or they're not even connecting with
right,
each
right.
other. So they're trying to build that morale up, right? So I could totally see there's so many ways I feel like you can go with what you're doing, right? Like, I don't know, I'm getting probably a little bit more excited
No,
here, but
no,
like,
no, you're fine, and I received that, and that is actually, part of what I'm getting into.
yeah,
So it's
awesome.
not just school leadership, that just happens to be where my, gifts and talents were honed. It's just people. That's why I talk about, leadership coaching, or I'm a growth strategist, or we talk about emotional intelligence and soft skills. All that's applicable, especially now, as we have like multi-generational workforces, or just
Mhm.
multi-generational communities. All of the engagement matters.
For sure, and especially with the diversity conversation in workplaces, right? Like, I don't know
Mhm.
how it is in the States, but I know how it is in Canada, and, having something on an application saying, "Hey, we're gonna hire, like, make sure you put visible minority down." Personally, I don't like that question on applications. I don't even feel like that should be
What's that visible?
like
No,
a
we don't
check
have
mark. Yeah, we have that, like, if you're Aboriginal, if you're, well, we say Black here, we don't say African
it.
American or African Canadian out here, like, we identify ourselves a bit different, like, I guess Canada's a bit different, like, other people will say, "Okay, I'm Indian, I'm," like, we don't say we're Canadian first usually, it's usually if you're Caribbean, West Indian, whatever your background is out
Mhm.
here, it's a bit different. Um,
Right.
but like even the diversity thing has been very huge over the pandemic, especially here in Canada, that, they'll hire a few people. Well, they hire a lot more in Toronto than any other city, but like
Mhm.
that diversity conversation needs to be had even in
Absolutely,
corporations,
it does.
right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we have pretty much that same thing here. However, the diversity, equity, and inclusion, depending on which side of the discussion you're on, I think that may be the same everywhere. There is a movement stateside because, after George Floyd, and how companies needed to engage in that discussion, realizing that they lack, uh, the cultural competencies necessary. And so you do find situations where people are simply on a team to check off a box. And
Hmm.
so it is one of those things where, I'm not the person to hire if you don't want to see an improvement, or if you don't want change.
Yeah.
And
But
a
do
lot
they,
of times,
oh,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. Sorry.
No, no, go ahead. You were asking a question.
Oh, yeah, I guess I was just curious too that, like, even for you, I think, I don't know how it is in Alabama, but I know there's tons of grants out here. Like, now that the conversation and everything that happened with George Floyd and everything, so now banks and different companies are jumping more on board out here to like give grants to Black businesses, right? And to like give that portion, and they're looking for people to invest in. So I don't know if that's something that could also help, your business grow as well, right?
That's a thought.
Yeah,
Definitely a
that you
thought.
could definitely look into because There's a lot of money out there, but it's hidden a little bit more.
Mhm.
So it's just I don't know. I'm just having some ideas that come to me, but again, it could be a bit different from country to country, right? Um, but yeah, I definitely think, just keep continuing to work on what you're working on. Like I know things are gonna start getting even bigger. And I don't even believe it's just gonna be Twitch. It's probably gonna be a lot bigger, than you think. So I can't wait to
Totally
actually see that.
received.
Yeah, exactly. So I can't wait to actually see that. If you guys have any questions for Dr. Datie Priest, definitely drop them in the chat. Double Spirit says, yes, yes. I know she has a gift, right, guys? She really does. And that's my next question, too, is, you're constantly fueling up other people. Like you're encouraging them, you're engaging with them, your laughter is infectious and just how you connect with people. But like, how do you feel your fuel tank? Because sometimes like we push out. It's kind of like being a not a performer, but as a DJ, sometimes you push so much
Right,
energy out to people that and
right.
you like it and you like helping other people, but then sometimes that can also lead to burnout where you need to like
Yes,
remove
yeah.
yourself and work on you. How and I know I don't always do that the best, like, but how do
Mhm.
you do that to
Like
exactly ensure
double
that your
spirits
self-care.
question, what do you do for self-care since you're always
Exactly.
asking engagement matters people?
Yeah.
So I just kind of retreat. And so even
That's what I was
just
trying to get at, but I kinda ramble a little bit with my questions.
um I am somewhat of a loner.
Hmm.
And so I am a social introvert. And so in terms of practicing self-care, I just kind of home is my sanctuary. So I can be out and about and enjoy people. And so, but I still have to have time to recharge. Um, so the other piece would be like T. Summers is saying, me too. And so here's the thing: she's putting together a cruise, a Christmas cruise for a lot of people. And so the thing is, I'll see them when I see them, but when I just kind of want to be by myself, I'm by myself. So engaging in self-care, sometimes I do stuff that's absolutely mindless.
Well,
Just
I think I heard in your talk show that you're introverted. So introverts fuel being alone. Crazy extroverts like myself fuel off of people. So
mhm.
by you being by
Yeah,
yourself, you refuel a lot more, right?
yeah, yeah.
But being around people, do they kind of exhaust you? Like, does it exhaust you sometimes? Like,
Sometimes it just depends. No, a couple of weeks ago at for we hosted my sorority's regional conference here, and there were 5,500 people here. And
oh,
so we hosted in Huntsville. And so one of the nights, you have to work and volunteer for different committees and whatnot. And one night I was like, I am tired. And
yeah.
so the ladies just kind of they were like, "Oh no, we're gonna keep going." I was like, "Mm-mm. Either I'm gonna go home or I'm gonna
Aw.
go back to the hotel room." But I'm not, you know.
So you know your limits then. Like you pretty much
Yeah.
know what you should do and when to pull back kind of thing.
And people respect that. Like just even with my childhood friends, they know not to ask me to go hang out. It depends on what it is. I don't mind going out and being, but it's just I can't like do it all the time.
Yeah. I'm curious, do you have a lot of friends that are more extroverted? Because I find those two sides opposite work well together, and I don't know how it does, but I have a
Yeah.
lot of introverted friends. Like we get along very, very well, and I can't figure it out because we're so opposite. So, what
Right.
about you?
Yeah. And, with my childhood friends, I think that's, yes, they're some are, extroverted, and it just depends on the individual. And then, have another group of friends. my sorority friends, and that's more of a while we are um, purposeful in how we interact and engage. There are some people who are introverts, some who are not.
Hmm.
But we mostly have, like Kitty talked about this yesterday, we're all alpha leaders per se. So there's something about us that just, but we know when we get together, we respect each other's space,
Yeah, for
which is
sure.
important for women to be able to do.
Yeah, definitely. And then going back as the moments, if you could look back at being a young girl, and all the things that you've done up until now, like were there moments when you were young that kind of led you to be a coach, or that you could see, okay, I was 13 years old and enjoyed teaching, or I enjoyed something that had to do with coaching?
No, there's nothing in my background that said I would be here. I grew up in the projects. I grew up in a single parent household. My mother always worked. So if you look at what the statistics would have said, this would not have been my path. However, definitely had family members who exposed me to different things. And so, in terms of getting to a place where um, the engagement piece is really strong, and the coaching, I think a lot of that is natural in terms of like my mission statement is to foster resilience through purposeful engagement. And that in and of itself would stem from my background in that I know what children like me need to succeed. They need people to manage their expectations around what they can and cannot achieve. You can't just assume that because someone grows up impoverished that they don't have the wherewithal, the intellect, or anything else that you could think of to go forth, which is an issue. And also making sure that people have cultural competency. So that would probably speak more to what I guess what I try and do, just making sure that people they have the cultural competencies necessary to make a difference. Because
Hmm.
people can think they do, or it's I see a lot of well-intended people, but when it's really time to engage, they're stunned or they're stumped because it really, and I mentioned earlier, like the population of people I dealt with, well, they don't care anything about Dr. Datie. They don't care about that. All they want to know is, do I respect them as people? Is there trust there? Because a lot of times, if you're dealing with a situation, what's on the table is really not what the real issue is. So there's nothing in my background that said, oh, she's going to be a coach or she's going to do this. It was just, I guess, a natural progression or natural segues of sorts. And there have been people along the way who have, you know, tried to stop my pathway. And a lot of that is when you think about it, it's because they don't have a place to put people like me per se.
Hmm.
Like, how dare she be great? How dare she be smart? Like I've had someone tell me, "Oh, you think you're smarter than everybody else. So is this why you're a hater? Is this why you're running around sabotaging careers?" And you
Hmm.
really do have to be okay with who you are and what you bring to the table, and understand that while you may not be everyone's cup of tea, if you're walking in your purpose, if you're walking and you know what God has purposed and ordained you to do, then that is really what matters at the end of the day, not what other people think about you. And so that really kind of helped me make that leap. Like, okay, they're not listening anyway to what you have to say. So just go ahead and do it. Yeah, Tisa. And that was so hard. When I say that was really heartbreaking, it really was. It was a situation where I was like, I hope I've always demonstrated respect, this and that. And the person said, you just walk around like you think you're smarter than everybody else. It's like, what?
Yeah, that's it. That's so tough. I think the hardest thing is being like misunderstood. I think that
Yes, yes,
is tough. Like
yes.
people just form an opinion, but they don't even really know you as a person, right? And to also I feel like and to give grace. I don't feel like we do that enough, maybe to
Right.
others, like because we all mess up. I've messed up. I've said some real stupid
Absolutely.
things,
Yeah,
and but then so has other people. But
absolutely. Yeah.
I think it's just giving kind of grace or having a conversation if you don't agree with
Mhm.
something. But I think people are very quick. But I think also when you're moving ahead and God positions you and opens up doors in your life, like puts you here when there is no explanation to be here at all, like based on your experience, your education, your background, but you're placed here. It's like
Look,
people don't like that.
there is nothing in my background that would have said I would have ended up at Harvard University
Wow.
participating in a leadership institute. Nothing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's
Mhm.
it's like, okay,
Do you
hey,
feel like you have to work harder, like, based on where you came from, changing that mindset? Because it's kinda like, say if you grew in a up in a functional home and, I don't know, 2 parents and they're both doctors or
mhm,
lawyers, like, it's much easier to go that path because 'cause you're seeing it. But if you grew up
right,
in a home where it was maybe possibly broken or, like, it was much harder, do you feel like even though this age, you still have to push through some of that mindset, like, to keep continuing? Like, it's harder than the
right.
average person?
So I would, society says that we grew up in a broken home. I just grew up in a home that was led by my mother, and it wasn't dysfunctional. It was just a working mother. And
Mhm,
so there were expectations, and my mother understood the importance of exposure. But to answer your question regarding, do I feel I have to work harder? Absolutely. Because here's
mm,
the thing, you go to the table and there would be, if you take me and somebody else, if it's a white female, then she's gonna be crying her way through stuff. That's just what it is, and not nearly as competent. However, when it's time to really square up and do the job, because I have a certain personality and I can call a spade, then I get labeled as the aggressive, angry black woman, where somebody else over here would be like, oh, yeah, she's firm, she's tough. And so the other piece is, in the words of Trevor Noah, as a black woman, I cannot afford to F around and find out. That's
mhm,
the real truth. That really is true. Like, I cannot afford to figure out what it's like to be unprepared. And so it's not even a matter of trying to outdo anyone. Most of it is we're just simply walking in the light that has been bestowed upon us. The other part is, do not ask us to dim our lights because you're missing something over here. Because you find a lot of people, they get jobs. I don't even, I'm not the person be the leader. But if I'm going to support you, you need to know you have the best support system ever. And so allow me to do that. Allow me to make you look good. Like, I know how to walk in my lane, but there is a certain amount of
mhm.
excellence that comes with that.
Yeah, I think
That's
it's
right.
very
That
unique.
you can't.
Yeah, but keep in mind it's very unique where you came from. That doesn't happen often where it's like you're a teacher, at least I don't think it happens in education like that. It could take years
It
for someone
doesn't.
to
It doesn't
become
bear out. Hey,
principal.
Miss Fred.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so for what happened to you is like that's unbelievable. Like so I could see how there could be jealousy and other things happening there when, people are at the same
Yeah.
level and now you're like like you're up
I'm
here.
talking the grudge has lasted 17, 18 years
Mhm.
from
Wow.
this individual. It's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah, it's so true. Thanks, Jangus. I appreciate that. He says, this is a great discussion. One of my team managers was telling me what you just said. You can't mess up as a Black woman.
you
Wow.
cannot.
Wow.
You
That's crazy.
absolutely can't, and so here's the other piece. As a Black woman, "Hey, Miss Riz, how are you?"
Hey, Miss
At
Riz,
like
good
a
to
Miss
see you.
Riz. Miss Riz is like the person you wanna become, just a solid woman, a woman who speaks truth and understand what it means to walk in that. But back to what Jenga said, we can't. We don't have that luxury. And it's not that, when we're encountered, and you mentioned something earlier, DJ Honeyflow, you said it's being misunderstood. So as a conceptual thinker, that's me, who is around people who are very structured and analytical in my field, they're not visionaries anyway.
Mm.
They don't understand by the time they're catching on to a vision that I've already cast, we're 5, 6 years down the road. So I can distinctly remember interviewing for a job. This was about 6, 7 years ago. And later on, I found out that the supervisor at the time, he said, well, I mean, I didn't have anything at that time, but I certainly was going to keep you in mind for something else. I really liked what you brought to the table because we had gone to grad school together. Then he said the committee, the same haters that I had, didn't really, they didn't want, they said, I said, what do you mean they said? And so what I'm getting at is in that moment, there was and I learned to stop doing this from that situation. I presented like an entry plan. This is what we can do, yada, yada, yada. The same person who said, I think I'm smarter than everybody else, sat there and was like, this is it. This is the plan. This would, no, it's not. Within 4 weeks, they turned around and implemented that same plan. Not a problem.
Wow.
It's okay. It's okay. Um, that's right, Jengas.
I
That's right.
agree. I
No,
agree.
and yeah, that is right.
But a
And
lot of
so
people don't do that.
yeah. No, they don't. They don't. They don't. And so with that right there, you're absolutely right. You are so right. It's so much I could say. You are very right. And so here's the thing. That is even it's like a year now. I've not necessarily been in public education. And it was God's way of saying, I'm going to bump your head one more time. I have showed you that these people, they don't like you. You just quit trying to fit in with them.
Mhm.
Go do something else. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Huge pill to
Very bitter pill
swallow.
to swallow.
Yeah. Especially if you've been working to something for so many years and it's like you
Yeah,
want it so bad. But sometimes I think you may think an opportunity is from God, but I think he'll allow you to move in there, but
that's
that's not
right.
quite what he has for you. That was my experience too with not going into it. But like he'll allow you to move in there, almost to make you realize that, yeah, the thing that you desire is maybe not what he has for you. He's definitely got something bigger for you. But
Right.
sometimes you move in places to learn that hard lesson and it doesn't feel good, like at all.
No,
But
it doesn't.
yeah.
It doesn't. And especially in the moment. Now, it definitely gets easier to talk about and for different situations. And so I know my situation was very public.
Hmm.
It was like, wait, what? And it's like the people who know you, they know you.
Yeah,
The
for
people
sure.
who know what you bring to the table, they know what you bring to the table.
But wait until you
And
get elevated up because whatever it is that you plan on doing, it's like all these people are still in the background watching. And
of course they are.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm glad you're sharing. I really appreciate your honesty. I can't always go a bit deeper with everyone I interview, but like I really appreciate you opening up, because I know
Well,
you're
thank you.
helping,
Thank you.
like you're helping people in here. I know that because I know other people have gone through those experiences, right? Um, like and I know, today also is, like, of course, International Women's Day, kinda switching it a little
Mhm.
bit too. And I just say a big up to all the ladies, the women, wearing so many hats and doing so many things too. Like, you should celebrate everything that you're going through, especially this month and every day, right? I'm
Right.
curious for you too. Like, do you think like women actually support one another? And if so, or if not, like, what are ways we could kind of just do that more for each other?
Mhm. So that's a very good question. And so we've been talking about this on the past couple of times on my podcast. And last night, actually, we talked about the power of the pack. And then we previously talked about the power of the collective, which is, sort of the same, but there are a few little differences once you peel back the layers. So, in terms of women supporting each other, I believe that women are naturally inclined to support each other, that they learn behaviors along the way that causes them to behave in ways that may be perceived to be jealous. And, maybe they don't have like a growth mindset. And I said this yesterday, and as much as there is enough air for all of us to breathe, there is enough space for all of us to win, and we have to see those things. So I never and you can tell depending on the person you're around, or if someone does something and it's backbiting or nasty. A lot of that has to do with what they have learned growing up. And so I will be 53 in July. And so my mother will be 95 in July. So I had like the old school kind of stuff. I never saw my mother backbiting or
Mhm.
behaving in certain ways, and always extending grace and compassion towards people. Now that little piece has caused me angst along the way, because people may think they may take my meek nature for a weak nature. And then when I have to show them who, maybe no. They just like, okay. So women want to support each other. I think we, meaning the more seasoned among us, have to do a better job of communicating to the younger women that they are valued, that they are worthy, that if there is a situation that does not necessarily coincide with how they should be going, then, communicate their worth to them. Let me see. He says he watched young female managers change who they are just to advance. What they did got them there. When they got there, they changed and didn't reach back. It kills me. And people see that. They Big Daddy says that's the humans, we all compete with each other. I understand that right there. But we don't all have to be nasty to each other, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah, exactly.
And what
I
Dana said matters, yeah.
Yes, I agree with Jengus and Big Daddy. I agree with you as humans for sure, but I do feel like there is a little bit of a difference, like with females compared to males. Like, men will get on the basketball court and compete that way, right? Like through a
Mhm.
sport or through something. And maybe I'm generalizing a bit here, but I feel like women from the day we're born, and this is my next question for you. I feel like we are taught to strive and compete. And I feel like maybe, we're taught, especially in entertainment, there's only one spot. Like, and you see that on raid trains, you see
That's
that
a
on
mindset.
stages.
Yes.
So I was gonna
That is a
ask you about that.
mindset. Yeah, that's a mindset that's very pervasive, just all around. So that I've experienced that mindset professionally speaking, like it can only be one black woman, and like that's stupid. And so, and or if I've been in situations where the mindset is oppressive, well, the likelihood of a white person who's not comfortable, and I give those examples because that's what I live, that's what I've been around. The likelihood of a white person who's not comfortable with a Datie choosing Datie is slim to none, because 9 times out of 10, what they're going to encounter is opportunities for them to grow and to reflect, but they will not see it as such. They will take it as an offense to who they are and think, and it's just like we're just trying to move the needle. So
What could you also say to, like, other cultures? Like, that I mean, I guess the question just came in my mind, right? Like, you know, like, what could you say to kind of other cultures to help understand, like, diversity or just, like, the experiences that others go through? What could you say to them to even help? Or, I know a lot of people marched with George Floyd and some of the situations that happened during the pandemic, but is that really enough? Like, is a bank giving a grant for Black businesses enough? I don't really know. I mean, it could be a bit of a start, but I guess I would ask the question, what could
Right.
we do or other cultures do to kind of help with everything that's kind of going on to make sure it's more recognized, you know?
That is a good question. I want to get to, can I do Jengus's first?
Yes, for sure.
He
Jengus.
wants, what 3 books you would recommend a young professional read.
Ooh,
And
that's
so
great question, Jengus.
there is I don't know if I have it over here. Difficult Conversations is one of them. That's the one I have there. And when I got into leadership, my cousin introduced, and this was what it was teaching like 20 something years ago. That's when I was introduced to John Maxwell. So the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership
Yes,
just
John
kind of helps
Maxwell.
you understand the dynamics of people. And there is another one, cannot think of the name of it, but it really, I can give you the gist of it. It talks about how leaders should learn to explore the talents of those who are on their team and not become so deeply rooted in the managerial aspects of leadership, because being a leader and manager are different things. But I have some books that I just bought that I'm getting ready to read. Emotional Self Care for Black Women is one of them, and I'm taking a class from Spiritual Thought Leader, and we are reading The Hidden Messages in Water. And that speaks to the messages that we put out and what we think. So, not necessarily professional books, but
No, that's awesome, and I'd love you mentioned John Maxwell. I've taken his course years ago on leadership. He's a great leader. Makes He talks about being a servant leader. That's the best
yes,
leader, is serving alongside people, not so much
right,
you here and
right.
them here. So that was interesting you mentioned that. Is there anyone that you kind of looked up to, like even now or even when you were, a little girl? Like, is there anyone that kind of inspired or motivated you? Any other women, maybe I'll say, if you could think of any?
Yeah, the women in my family. So in terms of learning how to treat people and how to engage with them, my mother, her sisters, um, and of course, there were other women in the community and whatnot, but I didn't have to look far because I had those in real time in front of me, and so that is, thank you for that question. And so you asked another question about what information would you give to professionals. Thank you, Jane. It's definitely about and raise that because I remember, but I can't quite.
Oh, it kind of cut out. Can you guys hear?
Yeah, I want you to repeat your question.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and we'll go back to Jangus after. Thanks, Jangus. He says he's taking notes. This is a safe place for me to ask and comment. I appreciate that, Jangus, as well. See what I mean? This is why I can't wait for your coaching or whatever you're doing right now, because people are already taking notes, Dr. Datie Priest. So that that must say something. Like, you know, hey, DJ Jonah, good to see you. So I don't know if I'm forming this as the right question. Hopefully, you kind of understand what I'm asking.
Mhm.
But I guess with everything that's happened, I mean, some of my friends, liked that are Caribbean out here, liked how certain things were handled, and some of them didn't. They're like, well, a huge march isn't going to solve the problem with diversity and solve the issues that are still going on country to country, right? So,
Mhm.
like, I posed the question even to them, and we've talked about this, like, uh, more personally, like, and that's always been a question for me too. How do you support like other cultures, or how do you make other cultures like, what could they do to support uh
Oh,
someone that's
okay.
like, say, in your country, or like from your background? What are some ideas that we can be more supportive, either in the workplace, or just to, like, not just having a once annual march, but actually doing something that impacts? What could we actually do, and what do you want to say to other cultures so they understand a little bit better? I hope that question makes
Right.
sense.
I
Yeah.
think it does. Hey, Author Javonda, I see you. DJ Jonah, I see you. And so here's the thing, the march was necessary.
Hmm.
People who marched, for George Floyd, there's a role for everybody to play. While my platform might have been used at that time um, to put specific messages out there, there are those who most definitely needed to march. And so you can't knock the roles that different people played because there there are different things that need to be done, right? And so right there, Miss Riz, is what I'm getting into to say is it does start with real honest conversations at the grassroots level. And part of that is when you're having the honest conversations, what I have seen happen when you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion and cultural competencies and systemic racism and those type practices, you have to be willing to not only call a spade, but if you are that spade that's being called out, you need to be okay with that too. Because it may not necessarily be that you're just totally in that package. It may be that you need to reflect upon some of your practices. And so everybody can't, we have this expectation of people being whitewashed. Well, that's not okay. In my opinion, it's not okay. Um, and so even when you think about what happens in the corporate structure, and so who determines what that looks like? Mostly white men.
Yeah,
And so that's really
100%.
where a lot of the conversation needs to happen. And so in terms of what I could say to other cultures, it would be a don't believe the hype because what they're looking at are basically stereotypes. Even in our conversation about well, what happens in Alabama? Well, I don't live in a field. I live in a subdivision. you know, but people think, oh, you know, so it's really the grassroots conversation that you have, but you have it not only one issue at a time, but one person at a time. And you have to also understand when you're engaging with someone, understand whether or not they're like an ally, a mentor, a cheerleader, a coach, just whatever that is, because everyone operates in different capacities. And also, everyone may not have the emotional intelligence to process what's going on, but that doesn't mean you stop having the conversation.
Hmm. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. Definitely, and I feel like interpretation can be different. I'm actually learning that on Twitch. I don't know if you've noticed that, but country to country could be very different. Like, the way we
Mhm.
interpret things in Canada is very, very different from Americans or the UK or the Caribbean. Like, it I'm actually noticing that a lot more when you're dealing with different people, even online. The way you may make a joke, or like, it could be
Yeah.
very different from, the interpretation how it is here, because culturally, we always speak of our culture here in Toronto. It's just so normal, like saying you have this type of hair or this background. Like, we really pride ourselves in our culture here, that we're always talking about it, right? Foods, different things. But then that could be possibly offensive to someone else in another country. They may interpret it something entirely different. Like, have you noticed that at all? I don't know. I've noticed that a few times, at least being online, interacting with so many different people. I don't know if you've noticed anything like how you have to be a little bit careful maybe from country to country or like
I think things can get lost in translation,
yeah.
and then it may be like the use of idioms for some people. Just there are things we can say. Hey, Jangis, thank you so much for being here. Definitely appreciate you. And I agree with what you said, Miss Riz, that it goes back to the topic of being transparent and vulnerable.
Yeah, thanks,
Um,
Jenkins, for coming. We appreciate you and all your comments too. I hope you got a lot of notes in your notebook, because I have a feeling you're going to be the first to buy Datie Priest's coaching which she's getting launched. I have a feeling. But thanks for coming through, Jengis.
Thank you. And so I think when we Miss Riz is absolutely right. She was talking about um, like we were talking about that. I think that came up in the context of different circles that we operate in. But when we talk about your question was how we what have I noticed around Twitch? I think that's for the most part, although we are who we are, we just tend to keep it surface. And so we don't really dig past that unless you begin to spend a little bit more time around people. And so, like personally speaking, I don't joke a lot with other people. Just that's just I don't unless I'm
Really?
really
I've
comfortable.
never noticed that about you. I don't know. That's
Mhm.
something new for me, actually. I did not know that.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't. I mean, I laugh at stuff, and I may engage the vibe of whatever is going on in that moment. But I am not a person who I would never go into a room and say, "What's up, bitches?" That I'm
Mhm.
not going. Mm-mm. That's
Yeah.
just not.
I
That's
don't think
not
I
who
would
I am.
I don't think I would do that in a room either, but
And some people
I
do.
may say what's
Some
up,
people do.
may say what's up or hi to people, but yeah.
Right, or just certain, "Hi, Barry Sterling, how are you?"
Hey, Barry, good
Um,
to see you.
and it just depends again, there's a certain comfort level that you have with people, or even being in here, I feel the energy is safe. So or just if I'm engaging with a Miss Riz or an author Javonda, or even, I didn't know Jangus before today.
Mhm.
However, he gives off very positive energy. And so a lot of it, when you're talking about engaging with other people, you have to be able to read the room in terms of the energy that's present.
That's very true. Yeah, Miss Rez says, I'm just
Yeah.
going back to some of these comments here you guys posted. I know I'm missing a few. And hey, our author Javonda, good to see you as well. She's got some really interesting, fun stories, author Javonda, too. Miss Riz had a great comment. She says, I believe it starts with real conversation at the grassroots level.
Yes.
Totally agree with you. And then she had another comment here. Let's see here. So going back to books, she says, another good read is The Mentor Leader by Tony, is it Dungy or
Tony
Dun
Dungy.
Dungy? Yeah.
Dungy.
Dungy.
Mhm.
Okay, yeah, that looks really good. Let's see, and I know Jengis already left. He said, "I'm half Asian." When we were talking about just the workplace, he says, "I'm half Asian, senior leader in the federal government. I try my best to lift others up. I learn every day more about what I don't know from my team." That's awesome. I think that's really good because that's kind of more of a servant leader. You're walking
Right.
with them, right? You're not like above them, but you're actually at their level with them as well. Yeah, so thanks for all your comments, you guys. If you have any questions, again, drop them in the chat for Dr. Datie Priest. Thanks for coming through, Steph One Love. I appreciate you as well.
Steph, how are you?
Let's see. I'm just trying to see here. And DJ Jonah, thanks again for coming through. I think it's awesome, though, at least this platform that we're able to just come together. Sometimes we may take it for granted being on this platform for a couple of years. But when you think about it,
Mhm.
like you're meeting really a lot of people with different views from so many different countries, right? So I think it's kind of cool, even coming from different backgrounds, experiences, life, like you could actually sit down. I could sit down with you and just have like an honest conversation. Like I appreciate that, you know. So this is going back to, I have another question here as well. Well, I have so many more questions for you. We probably
Okay.
won't cover. Um, but I'm just trying to see here actually. Oh, yes. Okay, this question might be a bit deeper, but I know you could kind of handle it. Uh, so that's why I'm asking you. But let's see. So in life, like kind of telling us where you came from and your background, and it must have taken a lot to kind of get to where you are now. Was there anything in life that you kind of had to unlearn? Like, for example, like we're taught striving as women, we're taught about success or even love or relationships, even boundaries. Like, is there anything in your life that you kind of look back that you felt that you had to kind of unlearn, like now?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And so I'm learning not to give until it hurts. I'm unlearning that practice, and also just about practicing self care. I don't ever remember, um, seeing my mother just take time for herself, and that's something that I'm learning to do. And as I talk to people about engagement and coaching and a growth mindset and soft skills and resilience and whatever else may be on the table, those same tenets also apply to me. And so, and there are other things that I've had to unlearn. I will say, being on Twitch, I was sharing this with someone a couple of weeks ago, that being on Twitch has actually expanded my horizons about some things. Um, Not necessarily one thing in particular, but growing up in the South can be pretty conservative in terms of my views. And so, understanding, so it's not necessarily unlearning anything, it's just becoming more comfortable in the presence of people who are very much not like me, and also understanding that at the end of the day, for the most part, we really all share the same common goal.
Yeah, it's so true. We really do, even though we come from different places. I mean, I think it's just humans in general, right? We all want to be
Right.
accepted, and we all want to have our place, and we all want to get to purpose, especially before we pass away. I think we all have kind of those common goals in general together. Um, yeah, so yeah, I definitely agree with you there too. Um, so again, if you guys have any questions, this is going really fast. It's almost 7 o'clock, which is insane how fast this is going. But if you guys have any questions, you're pretty quiet in the chat room. Drop some questions for Dr. Datie Priest. Um, if you want to learn or know anything about her, or just any question you have in general. Do you find it easier like giving to people? Because you definitely seem like that's one of your gifts. Like I don't know what your love language is. If you're kind of like actually maybe I'll ask you that. What is your love language?
So my love language, in terms of how I give to other people, giving and serving, is just one of my love languages, and having the ability to understand what people need, and reading people, and whatever their love language is, that's kind of like you tailor what it is for that purpose. In terms of my personal love language, with regarding what I like to receive, quality time is really huge for me. So I think the words of affirmation would kind of go both ways. I don't, I give that, and of course, um, quality time would probably be the main one. for me.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to say words of affirmation for you because you're very good with your words. And I guess just by kind of knowing you, I would
I
have
like
thought,
to give that. I don't necessarily need it,
okay.
but
And then acts of
I,
service, I was kind of thinking
yes,
might
acts
be
of
yours.
service, absolutely.
Yeah. So going back to acts of service, do you find it much easier like giving to people? Like it's easy to coach or for you. Like you got to realize that that's a rare gift. Not everyone has that gift, to be able to connect a community together, make people feel important, like even from a hello, like that's a huge gift. So do you feel that it's much easier for you to give that to people than like receive those things like
Yes,
yourself
yes,
or
yes, and that's a good question. I do have to work on learning how to receive, from other people, 'cause I guess I spent so much time giving until, and so that would be something that I'm unlearning. Um, it is certainly better to give than to receive. However, when people, give a compliment or provide an act of service and whatnot, you just sort of, receive it for what it is. DJ Jonah, you
I'm like, "What? What? What's going on here?
I
I'm
read
trying to be serious here." But I will put in some lighter questions because I know I'm drilling you with the not
Yes,
drilling.
no, it's okay. I
I'm
like that
asking
question. That's a
yeah,
good
I'm
question.
asking you, okay, and I talk about IL-2. I'm not gonna put you on the spot or anything. Actually, what was the question? Now I just drew a blank on that. Maybe that's for a good reason.
I knew you were gonna come up with some aisle 2 stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna and now I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this. This is probably why I'm not supposed to ask you this question. Um, I'm drawing a blank.
There is no Mr. Aisle 2, let me just tell you that.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't gonna ask you that and put you on the
Okay,
spot
I'm like,
because I know some people, like, you know, uh, I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on this, guys. This never happens to me. Okay, it's gonna come back once you guys start talking and commenting in the chat. It'll come back. I wasn't gonna ask you on that, the IL-2,
okay.
if you were with someone or not. I know that's a bit personal, but you never know. You never know what's gonna come up in this season, guys. I'll remember the question.
You never know now, if there's a Mr. Aisle 2 out there,
Yeah, you never know. I
Miss
was ch
Riz says, "In what ways would you like to see Twitch evolve?"
Yeah, that's a good
That's a good
question.
question. Um, so that's a good question. I think Twitch the evolution of Twitch is, contingent upon the evolution of the mindsets, right? And so, what are we open to in terms of, support structures and expectations? There are, some other things in terms of, I think Twitch as they make changes. I don't even know if there's a good answer to this, but I don't know that they really ask, I've never been asked my opinion from Twitch about what I think, you know. So I think the evolution of Twitch is going to be contingent upon the mindsets of those who are, in the ebb and flow, and getting people who have seats at the table, would impact that. So just a continuation of what's already in place, and also, understanding that this is a gaming platform. I definitely get that. However, there are people like us who are just on here making waves. What you do, giving people a space to speak, that's really huge. That's important. Thank you for doing that. What Ms. Riz does, what, author Javonda does, what everyone does. So, you know, and so Kick, I mentioned having, kick.com. That's a different, platform. I just signed up, in the past couple of days, but like Twitch, um, I want to make sure that people are impactful. So, I know, Miss Riz is usually on, later at night around the time I start to wind down. However, if I'm listening, I know I'm going to get some good gems from her.
Mhm.
It's like I'm playing this music, but you're going to get a good gem.
Yeah. That's true. Okay, I think oh no, I forgot it again. I just remember I just had my IL-2 question and then I forgot it again. I don't know. Uh, oh, no, no, I got it. I got it back again. Okay, I better say
Okay.
it quickly. So for all you guys that don't know, IL-2, I always talk about finding love in IL-2 if you're single, or IL-2 restoring the love if you're in a relationship, and I wasn't going to ask you if you're with anyone because some people hate when I get up in their grill, like I bug them and ask them. I joke around a lot and ask them questions, and sometimes the joke can go far left at times. But you strike me as someone that like is attracted to intelligence. I I don't know. They have so many names now for that,
Hey, Ava.
but I was curious about, yeah,
Sapiosexual is an attract. Yeah.
sapiosexual, exactly. So I thought, when I was thinking about you and kind of researching you a little bit too online, because I do some Google searches. So I did that
Hmm.
today and a couple days ago, and I was thinking, you know what? I think Dr. Datie Priest is sapiosexual or whatever it's called,
Hmm.
attracted to intelligence. I'm
I
that way
am.
too. But I thought you, just because of the way you converse with people, and I can tell that you want to go deeper. Not everyone goes deeper, and I love that. Like I love the
Right.
conversations you bring. So I was going to ask you about that in aisle 2. What are you attracted to? And
And
that was
so,
one of
yeah,
the
and
things.
I'll to intellect. And so here's the thing: when I'm saying intellect, I'm not always talking about intellect in terms of does this person have 4 or 5 degrees like me? That's like what are their life experiences? Are they well read, so to speak? Can they converse? Can they hold their own in a room of people? Can they hold their own with me? If it's a situation where they're in my circle, what's that going to look like? If it's another one, what's that going to look like? And I think one of the things that is very important to me um, is that I feel safe enough to be vulnerable, where that trust is built. And so, as a person who, when you deal with people and so you talk all the time, at home, I'm so quiet. you
Really?
know, yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. I don't I mean, I talk, but it's like like PMAC or Double Spirit's been to my house or like Fairly All Day's been to my house. So it's like if
Oh,
Fairly when she
cool.
comes here, she would be on this side of my house. She has this whole side to herself. I'm over there. So she knows she's learned like hey, I know where the Starbucks is, or if she doesn't want the coffee that's in there. But I don't just sit up and talk, 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 talk. However, when I do, I want it to be meaningful. And
Mhm.
so, absolutely, yes, Miss Riz. And so, feeling safe with someone, um, and so I will just in a moment of transparency. When I was going through a situation last year, one of my friends and we've been friends forever, and it meant a lot to me that he didn't just take what I said at face value. This is a person who works 50, 60-hour work weeks, who carved out time and said, I don't care what you're saying on the phone. I'm going to come ring your doorbell so I can put my eyes on you and just give you a big hug and tell you everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
That's what matters to me.
That's awesome. I love that. I think that's also going back to the quality time too, right?
Yeah,
That you said that
absolutely.
that's what matters to you. Hey, Ava,
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I said hi to you yet. But
Thanks,
I've been
Ava.
seeing you. Good to see you as
Yes,
well.
DJ Jonah, meaningful dialogue.
Yeah,
And
Jonah says meaningful
sometimes people
dialogue.
be mindless and laugh at stuff, but just a balance. You know how to
Yeah.
read the room. You know how to it matters to me. What I pray for in a companion is the ability that person having the ability to read the room for the both of us. Like I
Mhm.
feel safe enough where if I'm not in a headspace where I feel like reading the room, well, hey, I can count on him to do that. you know,
Yeah, that's
that's
very,
just
very
me.
true. Do you feel like Twitch is the right platform? Sometimes I wonder that. Like, I mean, your show is doing great. It's really taking off. Your room's always filled with people, which is amazing. But sometimes, if I'm honest, I kind of feel like I'm not sure if people want meaningful dialogue at times, especially on Twitch. Like, that's how I've been feeling. When you do a DJ room, people want to go to the party,
Um,
they want to do this and that. Do you think that there's room for those conversations, especially here or on social media? Like, what's your take on that?
I think we have to remain true to who we are. So, with regard to engagement matters, yeah, for the most part, roughly 90% of what we're going to talk about is going to be substantive type stuff. However, there are times when we just have fun. And you've been in engagement matters when we might laugh or something.
Mhm.
And so you have to manage your expectations around what people are presenting and what you want to get out of it. Um, so it just I think the biggest thing is managing your expectations because this is a virtual space and people are quick to say, I don't want to do this or this is that or I don't. It's just Twitch. Well, yeah, okay. Um, that's right, Miss Riz. Miss Riz said, people can be fickle, but if you stay true to who you are and can read the room, you will know how to balance. That's really it. You remain true to who you are. Like, I'm not going to change engagement matters because somebody said I need to. Because here's the thing, there is someone who needs what I have to offer. There's someone who needs what you have to offer. There's someone who needs what Miss Riz has to offer. There's someone who needs what DJ Jonah has to offer. And so I just try and create a safe space where people can come and, unwind and shoot the breeze about the matters of the day. And sometimes people may say, how do you do that? They're all over the place. Well, it's just like a real classroom, sort of like a welcome back Cotter type thing. And so you meet people where they are, but never change who you are. The mission is the mission, the goal is the goal. Doesn't matter what's going on around you. And that is one of my strengths. It's just staying focused on the mission, staying focused on the task at hand. Doesn't matter what you think is happening around me. No, I'm always focused on the mission. I'm always focused on the goal.
Devil Spirit says she just called us crazy.
No, I, I knew you
That's
were going
hilarious. Ava says you took the words out of my mouth. Miss Rez says people can be fickle, but if you stay try to who or true to who you
true
are
to who you
and can
are.
read the room, you know how to balance. It's very wise advice. So now I'm curious because I'm just wondering, like, you don't strike me as a people pleaser then, so that doesn't bother
I am
you,
not.
like people's opinions or like people pleasing or what people may perceive of you. Like, how do you navigate through that, even doing a show or, do you just
Um,
kind of block out maybe some of, and just keep continuing
well,
forward?
that has caused some issues along the way. And so I'm not this lady, she was the curriculum supervisor when I was a principal, and real sweet lady. And I always liked that she always respected what I brought to the table. She never tried to say that's too far out there. But we were somewhere, and I saw her, and she told a group of people, she said, Datie's not a yes person. And so I'm not a yes person, yet I am a people pleaser. I think part of it too, um, in understanding what coaching entails, you also always tell people if your coach doesn't have a coach, get you a new coach. And
Hmm.
one of the things, one of my former supervisors, the one person that I miss now, he told me, he said, your spirit of excellence is great, second to none, but you don't do well when people don't follow through. And I don't. It's like if we're the task is the task. Quit telling me what the kids can't do. Quit telling me what people can't do. Let's talk about what they can do. And I say that because I am the child who made it in spite of what other people said. People can make it, they can do it. You just have to know how to coach them. You have to know how to connect them. Miss Riz, no, I'm not a people pleaser. No, I like people and
Yeah,
I want to make sure people are pleased, but I'm not. That's right. Lover
I
and
like that
facilitator
though.
of cohesion.
Yeah,
Yes.
I really respect that. I really like that. Have you ever had like anything, and I guess I could say probably even now, since you're in the world of entrepreneurship and you're trying to work on stuff right now, it's like, have you ever had like fear kind of grip you? Like maybe you have like a big dream or a big vision for something,
Yes.
or maybe
Yes.
fear kind of
Yes.
like is like, oh, you can't do this, you're not the right person
Yes.
for this job, like, you know.
Here's the thing. Absolutely. Yes. So here's the thing. Just even taking the leap into entrepreneurship was scary. Because it's like, do you know how many no's I've received? you know, all the no's, and then you talk to people, and they're like, okay, not this school year, maybe next school year. So yes, 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 and all of it. Um, and that's part of the self-talk and the self-awareness. As I told you, I'm always engaging in some self-talk. I get in the mirror and I'm like, okay, Datie, you're gonna be okay. It's going to work out. Like, keep walking, keep pressing, and even having to tell myself, um, create it, do it, build it. They will come. And so it's different because I've always worked for other people, but it's like I'm not gonna keep creating other people's dreams and stuff, especially when they don't appreciate it. Backbite and all that foolishness. And
Yeah.
they're still no better for it. Mind you, these people are very inept,
Mhm.
but I'm like, okay.
Yeah, that's true. But I think you're in a space too that like I said, I've seen coaches and people blow up huge, even on TikTok, or not knowing what they're doing. And now they're like multimillionaires. It's insane, like some of them that I watch. And they didn't even know what they were doing. They're saying they're flying by the seat of their pants, but people were listening to them and they didn't even know how to design a website or do this and that. And they're just trying, right? And they failed many times, but then it worked, for them.
Yeah,
So I definitely can see that going past Alabama, because you're one step ahead, I feel, than most people, because you're in this online world, right? And a lot of people
right,
think this online world is ridiculous. Like, I don't know if you've had that experience. I surely have. They don't get
yeah,
Twitch.
yeah,
They think it's absolutely crazy. But
right,
then we are all moving into this world. So everyone online right now is actually one step ahead to what's coming in the future. That seems so ridiculous to
right.
other people. Um, so yeah. If, oh, actually, I'm hearing a bit of an echo. Can you hear that?
I don't have an echo on my side.
Oh no, I think it's on my side. Wonder how I can fix that. So if you guys have any questions, definitely drop them in the chat. And if you want to say hi to anyone in the chat, you can. I think what I'm going to do is try to go out and come back in again.
Okay,
'Cause I'm
okay,
I'm hearing this weird echo. So
okay.
let me see if I
I
could do
think
that.
I've said hi to everybody. Double Spirit is the mod for Engagement Matters. So I definitely appreciate you being here, Miss Riz, and Ava Odom. I see you. Who else was in here? Shiro Squad. I saw you. And so, DJ Joan, I saw what you put. You said a woman with intellect is amazing. And so here's the thing. I think people are so caught up in what they think other people want that they're scared to be themselves. And so, is what you see is really what you get with me. And the confidence factor is huge. And so walk confidently in who you are. Hey, vengeful turkey for you. How are you?
That's a different username. Vengeful turkey for you. Oh no, I'm hearing that echo again. I'm gonna try to see if I could fix this.
Yeah. And so Miss Rios, you know how that is. And so it's like it's I was talking with one of my longtime friends called me hey DJ Cut 'em Close. That's the big brother. How are you? Good to see you. And DJ Cut 'em Close, hey, he's become like my virtual big brother, and I appreciate it. Um, thank you for being here. And so one of my friends called the other day and we were talking about something. And I remember, back in the day, he would always call me a rule follower. You're a rule follower. I'm like, what is that? And so to this very day, we were joking. And he said, well, the best thing that could have happened to me is I got married. I said, well, you have me to thank for that because had I not been a rule follower, you would not have risen to the standards, honey. So you could be good for other people.
So true. Yeah. Oh no, there's still an echo. I don't know why there's an echo here. Oh well, I'm gonna try to keep it going. They keep hearing this. How you doing, DJ Cut 'em Close? Good to see you as well. Of course, Ava. Oh shoot.
Miss Riz, that part right there, okay? Hey, Disco Darren.
Hey Disco, good to see you. Miss Riz says train them up and ship them out. Let's
Mhm.
see here.
Disco Darren, how are you
Vengeful
doing?
turkey for you. I need to know how you got your user ID. You gotta put that in the chat. Let's see here. Okay, hopefully that works. So again, you guys, we have a few minutes left. Actually, we're past 7 o'clock too. But if you guys have, do you have a few minutes? You're okay? Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm gonna still try to continue. This echo is killing me right now, but we're gonna still try to work it out. Hopefully there's no, can you guys hear the echo in the chat? Let me know. First time happening to me like that. That's okay. So I guess, yeah, if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat for Dr. Datie Priest. And then also a question I was interested in too, what would be on your life bucket list if you had like maybe a month to live, like, you know, anything, like no holds bar on what you could do, what would that be? And it could be a few things too, not just one thing.
That's a good question. Um, people I would always want to say, see the world and experience other cultures. One of the things that I really um, keep at the forefront of my mind is that when all is said and done, that my dash has made a difference. And so making sure that I have lived a life that has not only been rewarding to me, but it matters in the grand scheme of things. So it's like, how have I helped other people? How have I equipped them? And, I consider myself, as a leader to be a path clearer. Hey, David C. Dennis, how are you? And so I guess on my bucket list would just be making sure that all T's were crossed and all I's were dotted, right? And that, whatever legacy I leave is worth it. So
Now, I always hear from people when I ask them this question, they want to travel and do other things. So it's interesting that you said purpose. And I love that. Like, because we should all be thinking now about purpose and legacy. We don't know if none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Not one of us in this room is guaranteed tomorrow. So I love that you said that. Was there something that actually led you there to, because people wait till they're maybe 80 years old or 90 to come to that conclusion. What have I done with my life? But you're actually saying this now, that that's important to you. Was there anything that kind of led you to say purpose or led you
no,
here?
I understand my purpose. And as life goes on, and certainly as different events have happened in my life, especially the things that kind of push you closer to what you're supposed to be doing. I've learned to look at things in the uh, from the purview of, you don't lose, you learn, and understanding what my purpose is. My mission statement is my purpose, to foster resilience through purposeful engagement. Because what I understand about engagement is that not everyone is resilient enough to withstand. Not everyone is resilient enough to get back up and try again. Not everyone is resilient enough to say, you know what, this didn't work out this way. Let me just go again. And so understanding that when life happens, we're like that old commercial that it said like the weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. You may get knocked down a little bit. Life may get you off path, but like keep going, keep going. So I understand that I wear a shirt sometimes that says warning, I'm not for everybody. And I get that. But this is what I do know. I know what I bring to the table. I know that I offer something very valuable, not just to the people who are able to receive what I have to say, but those are gifts that keep on giving. So that's what I mean by understanding that my life and my dash has mattered, that people were able to just live a better life and understand what the ebb and flow of resilience and engagement looks like. And so you want people to be able to make better decisions with the tools and the information that they have.
Yeah, that's so true. Wow, you're giving me a lot of like golden nuggets tonight, just thinking about things. So I thank you for that as well. And I'm sure you are with a lot of other people. Oh, Cheryl Squad said we got to stretch. We got to stretch. Um,
Okay.
yeah. Hey, David C. Dennis, good to see you as
Thank
well.
you, David C. Dennis.
Disco Darren, we got DJ Cut 'em Close, or I call him DJ Q Tim Close, in the building. DJ Cut 'em Close, and everyone coming through. Father Damien, Vengeful Turkey. Thank you guys so much for coming through. I appreciate that. So no questions, you guys, for Dr. Datie Priest. No last minute questions. Again, drop it in the chat if you guys have any. And I think I've covered probably a good portion of my questions here, that's for sure. Um, One thing I have noticed is you do put a lot into your streams, talking about different social issues, which again, I appreciate different causes such as like mental health. You've also had conversations around the pandemic, how people feel, and also race. You've brought on people on your show, especially men too, which I thought was unique to share conversations that they have a platform that they could speak. Um, have you noticed anything like a good memory from your shows? So when you've done all these topics and all these things, have you had like a good memory come up from people in the chat room or something that has happened from just engaging the conversations on your shows?
Yeah. Recently when we were talking about, I think it was during Black History Month, and we were talking about policing the Black community. And so we know how policing got started as a way of slave patrols, and how there are certain tenets that today speak to how police brutality gets to be such a hot button topic. As one had put in the chat, this is hard for me because I'm raising my son to be a man. At the same time, I have to teach him how to get home. And so what that really translated into was that the things that he was teaching his son in regards to being a man, sit up straight, look people in the eye, square up, be firm. Those are things that go against the grain of staying alive when he encounters the police. So that was a memorable moment, and just sort of heart wrenching, that we all certainly face the same battles. However, you never know what one is grappling with, or just even that individual uh, sharing that information. What was huge, and there are lots of other memorable moments. I remember one time, I think when I first got started, Disco Darren. Disco Darren, when I say He can make me laugh. Disco
He's such a
Darren and
character, Disco.
DJ No Rick, they had me this one Sunday. It's been like when I first got started. They had me laughing so hard. Like everywhere I went for like 3 days, people were like, "We didn't know you laugh like that." No, thank you, ma'am. I see you. Thank you.
Yeah, Disco's funny. He's definitely a character. I remember you being on my show in the chat room when I was interviewing Disco, and he said a few
Mhm.
things, and you saw my eyeballs. Like I was like, "What?" Like my eyeballs were like, I was like this, like Disco. Okay, we get it, we get it. Like it was so hilarious, and
Yeah,
I'll never forget. You said a comment to me. You're like, "Honey Flo," you said something like, "That's just Disco," or that, "Oh shoot,
yeah,
that's just how he is." And, like,
yeah.
my eyeballs were gonna pop out of my head. I'm like, "Oh my goodness." But we did a great interview together, Disco.
Mhm.
He's a great guy too and brings a lot of fun, funny conversation and different questions to his chat too,
Mhm. He
which I
does.
appreciate. Yeah. But yeah, so that's definitely good. So I know we are going to I'm not as naive as you guys think. Maybe just a little bit. Maybe Dr. Datie Priest could help me. I'm learning a lot on Twitch. I'm learning a lot from Disco. I'm learning a lot from all you guys, David C. Dennis, and all you guys. But okay, so yeah, we're definitely going to wrap up here. And I guess, another question I did have for you too was, um, because you talk about all these issues that are really important, does it take a lot of time? It seems like you put a lot of thought into your shows, or does it, like, pre-planning your shows? How's the process for you?
Yeah, it takes some time. While what you all see would be, oh, she just got up there with a PowerPoint. That
Yeah.
it takes some time for me to research and create the content. Depending on, hey, thank you, Father Damien, thank you for coming in. Have a good night. Depending on what it is, I can flow. However, and people have different ways of presenting. As an educator, I know people use all of their senses to learn. So they may not only need to hear me say it, but they may need to see it. And so, yeah, I do put a lot of time and effort into it. So thank you for recognizing
No,
that.
I noticed that with the PowerPoints. I'm gonna scale back my yappiness in your chat room because I don't wanna, sway away
Oh no,
from
you're
what you're
good. You're
doing.
good.
No, but I'm
You're
thinking
good.
about that because you do put a lot of thought, and, sometimes it could go far left. I know I can many times, so I'm thinking
I
it
know
is.
how you know what, and I do know how to bring it back to the middle. So that's,
Yeah. But let me know anytime. Um, but if there were like a few social issues too, like right now, pretty much in the world, you would want changed like now, what would those be? What would that look like to you? Yeah, and I'm definitely gonna wrap up. I'm just enjoying her conversation, but I am gonna wrap up because I don't want to keep you too long. But
Oh, I'm good. Why is she telling you what to do? I'm
Cheryl
good.
Squad always does that. She's
Right.
like, "Cut it, cut it." She's been doing that. She does that a lot in my chat room. But I agree.
So, um, social issues, I try to highlight. Usually everything you see on my show is a social issue.
Mhm.
And so in terms of what I would want change right now, um, race is always an issue. The systemic racism, um, having lived, especially professionally speaking, through different situations that are 100% rooted in race. Just understanding that Black women, again, we cannot afford to F around and find out. We just can't. And being who we are means that we also have to understand that we have little girls and young women watching us, that we can't afford to not be good to each other, that we can't afford to not be our best selves, and understand that we're trying to operate in a world where when we do leave it, that we want to leave it as good as we found it, right? And so, in terms of what I would like to see change, would be what everybody talks about, the hot button items, the racial issues. And so when we talk about that, that tends to make other people uncomfortable. And so you may get the, well, all lives matter. Well, if all lives matter, then we wouldn't be talking about Black Lives Matter. If all women mattered, then Black women wouldn't be at the absolute bottom of the totem pole. If all lives matter, then there would not be, situations where you have a plethora of people against one person simply because of mindset and social constructs and mores. And so that is the one thing I have learned over the years is to just be true to who you are. They will adjust.
Mm.
If you're doing what's right, because this is the one thing that I know to be true. God may give me for a whole lot of stuff, but it won't be because I mistreated somebody. And I want people to be their best selves. And in pushing and coaching people, that can be hard work. That would, that can be exasperating at times because people get comfortable and they stick to what is familiar to them. And so you asked me at the outset, was I born and raised here? Yes, I absolutely have chosen to stay here in Alabama, probably because my mom's older and all my siblings have moved away. However, I've been fortunate enough to be able to go and see and learn and do and have exposure to different things. That in and of itself is a double-edged sword because here I am having people around me who are ignorant. When we have an elitist attitude, well, no, yours is backwoods. How about that?
Mhm.
So I just what I would want to see change would be mindsets, and we do that. One conversation at a time, one life at a time. Um, but no matter what you do, keep walking the walk. You can't talk the talk if you're not willing to walk the walk.
Mm. Wow. That's some powerful words. It's very, very true. Very powerful. So do you still do you see hope and change in this world today amongst everything that you have to go through, like racism or loss or just like any trial, and some of the things that you said,
Yeah.
like do you still see hope in and
Yeah,
is it possible to
definitely.
see hope in this world today with everything
It is
happening?
possible to see that. There as I mentioned earlier, there is just a flat out movement to stop anything dealing with progressiveness or to eradicate systemic racism. When you listen to, the politicians and they have this wokeism movement, well, all you have to do is remove the word woke and insert black. That's exactly what they're talking about. Wokeism is black people. That's foolishness. Because here's the thing, you 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 want progress, but then you're running and engaging all this fear mongering in people. And this is why we really do have to study to show ourselves approved, rightly dividing the word of truth. That's not just in the biblical perspective, that is in life. That is, you get to know those who truly labor among you. And it's been my experience that whenever I've been around or been in a work situation where the people are not as exposed, if you will, as they purport to be, that turns into an issue because people don't want to be corrected. They don't want to receive. They don't want to reflect. They say they want change, but they don't. Not only do they not know how to make it happen, how dare me, you, black chick with your afro, come in here and tell me this and that because I know what works. And the work is the work. The mission is the mission. And so when you think about change and advancement, hope, yeah, hope is out there, but faith without works is dead, and we have to be able to have hard conversations that move the needle forward. And that includes not you just walk your walk. Don't cower down. Be Who You Are, spiritual thought leader, talks about walking in our boss energy. Walk in your boss energy. It's okay. It
Hmm.
really is okay. And that's
Hmm.
for all women. That's for all people. Red, yellow, black, and white, but particularly those of us who are disenfranchised. And the masses would like to think that, oh, they really don't have anything to offer. When the real fact of the matter is, were it not for people who look like me, a lot of what we'd experience would not be, right? And so there is a way to operate and get along with everyone. All of that really does matter. It's just that we cannot afford to F around and find out what happens if we don't rise to the occasion.
Hmm. And I think it's good for people to know because sometimes you don't think like that really saddens me. Like some of the stuff that you mentioned earlier, like just about how if someone has a son, they're teaching their sons, okay, you have to do a certain thing or walk a certain way or, like put your hands on the steering wheel or you got to do things differently.
Just so they can make it home, okay?
Yeah, just so they
And
can
that's
make it
exactly
home.
what that father was talking about in my chat. He said he's raising a man, raising his son to become a man, but he
Hmm.
also has to raise him and equip him with different strategies just so he could make it back home. And all those things go against the grain. Or even when you look at like the discipline issues in a school setting, um, it's the little black girls who really get a bad rap because we're considered mouthy,
Hmm.
you know.
Wow. Hey, Six Boss, I see you. Thanks for coming through. And then Ashton in the club, I see you guys as well. Thanks for coming through, you guys. This has been a great conversation. Definitely a lot of golden nuggets. Make sure you guys, everyone in the room, for the one person that doesn't know Dr. Datie Priest, you better get to know her like today and soon before she blows up. Seriously, in terms of her coaching. So make sure you guys add her on Twitch, support her. You said you're also looking at what is that app called again? Kink or
Kick.com.
yeah, so make sure you guys go there too. I heard a lot of Twitchers are moving there too. We
Yeah.
got DJ Just Delicious in the room too. Oh, it's called Kick. Oh, I think I said Kink. Kink.com. I was like, I don't know where my head is at, but it's called kink.com as well. Kick Kick.com. So make sure you guys check it out. A lot of streamers are moving there as well. I heard you actually get 100% of the earnings to you, which I think is amazing because we work so hard on Twitch,
That's Spartacus.
like we're working to
Yeah.
build this platform. But did you know that there's 10 million streamers on Twitch right now? There's about 140 million viewers on Twitch. Did you know
Hmm,
that? It's a
didn't
lot.
know that. Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes I think maybe going to a smaller pond might work in terms of the streamer working hard, and
Mhm.
trying different things, trying a different platform, right? Um, let's see here. I'm just looking at the comments. So you guys got no questions? Uh, yeah. So we're gonna wrap up here, you guys, because I know I can keep you for another hour, but I definitely want to respect your time. I thank you so much, Dr. Datie Priest. Honestly, I knew it would be a great conversation with you.
Thank you for
Um,
having.
yeah, and thank you for just being so open like you are. I really do appreciate that and that like it really inspires me. I don't even think you
Me.
even know, but it really does. So I
I'm
appreciate
honored. Thank you.
everything that you've said tonight, and I know you've helped a lot of people. Yes, thank you, Kitty Bradshaw.
Thank
She put up kick.com/. Dr. Datie Priest. Make sure you guys add her. I'm telling you, you're going to need her autograph. Have you thought about a book? Do you have a book actually? Should talk to author Javonda too,
I don't
you
have a
know?
book. I am going to create an ebook and an e-course for
Awesome.
coaching.
Yeah, I can't wait.
I
And
have
let me
enough
know.
content to create a book. So yeah.
Yeah, you definitely do. And when you're like, if whenever you're ready, let me know. And I'm a massive marketer on other people. I'll do my best to
Thank
definitely
you. Thank
spread the
thank
word
you.
out for you as well. Yeah.
Thank you.
Um, let's see here. I'm just seeing if there's any last minute questions. Hey, DJ Spartacus, I see you as well. thank you guys, each and every one of you guys, for coming through. Now we're going to leave the raid. Oh, we got Harlem QT just came through the building
Hey,
as well.
Harlem Cutie, how
Thanks
are
for
you?
thanks for coming through. Oh, I call her QT. It's actually Harlem Cutie, right? They were bugging me the other day because I kept saying Harlem QT, right? But how you
I
doing?
think that's one of those tomato kinds of things.
Yeah, it's yeah, especially as a Canadian, we try to pronounce every letter,
Mhm.
but you don't get it, and you're like, "Oh, it's Harlem Cutie. How did I not get that?" So thanks you guys for coming through. Now, is there any we're gonna leave it up to you. Oh yeah, I know, I gotta stop talking. We're gonna leave
Oh,
it up
for
to
the
you
rain?
if you can see who we could rate into. Um, let me know as well if you can see.
I can see. Let me see.
Yeah, I could let you figure it out. And if you guys have any last
Oh,
minute
okay, let's
questions.
do this.
Mhm.
It is one of my faves' birthdays, DJ Sir Scratch. And Nita Dunn One is streaming right now for
Okay.
his birthday.
Oh, okay. So Nita Dawn.
Nita Dunn
Okay,
One,
she's
Nita
another
Dunn.
powerhouse woman killing it too on Twitch,
Yeah.
doing really good. So
Mhm. And
let's
thank you so much for having me today. And
yeah,
thank
thank
you
you.
everyone for taking time to come in.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming through. I appreciate it. I knew it would be an awesome conversation with you. And you guys look out for her. Make sure you're adding Dr. Datie Priest, like anyone catching the replay, people on Facebook, YouTube. Make sure you guys are catching her too before her book comes out and some of the things she's working on, because I'm telling you, it's going to blow up. So you
Thank
guys
you.
got to make sure you catch her now before she's too busy flying out to different places and speaking. All right, so we will do that. We're gonna go to actually I just realized I don't think I have any mods in the building. So we're gonna go to Dr. Datie or sorry, Nita Dawn. I'm going to try to put this in the chat as well. And thank you guys again. I'm gonna set this one up, the raid up through my phone. And I hope to visit
Oh,
Alabama. So if I ever, because I want to see my mod junior, and I was like, who else do I know from Alabama? And I thought of
yeah,
you.
I'll
Yeah,
drive over and meet you all for dinner.
yeah, that would be amazing. I'd love to meet you as well. Um, and I'd be going there to definitely like meet my mod because we're like family now. But yeah, it would be such a pleasure to meet you as well. Okay, so we're gonna set this up, this raid up here, and we'll see if it goes through. I'm going to try a few times raiding in. So again, if you missed the bus on this raid, guys, we're going to need a Dawn 1. I'm sure everyone knows her on Twitch too. She's got a packed room. Thank you guys again for joining this conversation. Engagement matters again with Dr. Datie Priest. Such a great conversation. If you missed it tonight, you got to catch the replay online on my Twitch or YouTube. Make sure you catch Dr. Datie Priest as well. So this raid is just about heading out, and hopefully you had dinner or you're going to have dinner as well.
I'm going to have dinner. Yeah.
I didn't even get into any light questions. I had some fun music questions too, but I was like, I think,
Oh, it's all good.
yeah, I think I want to see your views on a lot of other things. So I'll have to bring you back if you're interested to come back on, to
Sure,
ask
absolutely.
you a lot more questions. So should you normally let the raid, I guess, go naturally? I usually do. It's just a lot slower.
You can either press it to go or let it go naturally, either one.
Okay, I heard it stops.
Hey, Ashton, how are you?
Thanks,
It'll go
Ashley.
on its own in about 5, 6 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you again, you guys. We'll see you in Nita Dawn's room. Happy International Women's Month and Day to all the beautiful women out there. Make sure you guys are supporting the ladies. And okay, so it looks like it just went
They're
through.
gone.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try one or two more times quickly because sometimes this misses people. So I'm going to try to um, press raid now. I do it a few times. Ever since they removed
Oh, okay.
hosting, it misses people for some strange reason. So, okay, and I'm going to try one more time because right now it's still showing a lot of people in my room, 27. I don't know why it does that. So, okay, I'm going to try one
Oh,
more
okay.
time. I'm going to try one more time and then I think we're good. So I hope you get something nice to eat tonight too, because I know this was a lot longer. Um,
Oh, I cooked yesterday. I have some turkey meatloaf and cabbage, so
okay,
I'll take it.
awesome. Well, thank you so much again, Dr. Day Priest. This was awesome. Thank you for all your
Thank you for
golden
having me. I
nuggets.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and we will
I do.
definitely see each other in these Twitch streets
Absolutely.
then.
Hey, are you
Okay.
doing your, the women's,
Oh, that's this Friday. Actually, I didn't. Maybe I should end
the
this
sex
broadcast.
trafficking?
It's oh, I'm not doing the human trafficking one this year. I took a break from
Oh,
it, but I
okay.
will be driving to the restoration house hopefully in the next couple months. I haven't done that yet. It's pretty far,
Okay.
about 2 hours away from me.
Mhm.
But I am doing a female. What is it? Um, I'm doing this female empowerment stream. If you're free on Friday, definitely jump in. It's with DJ Jen, Mistress Kush. A bunch of
Okay.
women are going to be on the panel this Friday at 7 p.m. and we're going to be
Okay.
having a conversation. Yeah. So,
Okay.
okay, sounds good.
Okay.
We will
Thank you
see
so
each
much.
other.
I appreciate you having me.
Okay. You too. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Take care. Have a great
Thanks.
night.
Bye-bye. You
Okay.
too.
Bye.